I don't know about Sharangovich. I'm not going to write him off entirely, but man, this guy needs something. Maybe it's coaching. But the way that he approaches the game right now, I don't even think maybe he belongs in the league. If this is what we're going to get for the next 5 years, like, how do you even stay in the league? How do you not get bought out? This is what probably, if you're looking at scheduling wise, that's probably the toughest week of the year, scheduling wise.
Yeah.
So I know everybody is it's such a weird, this has been the tale of the entire season though, has it not? Where you have the range of emotions, the range of expectations, the range of belief just swinging. You see it all in one week. It's just you absolutely get dominated by the Lightning. 0 goals, manufactured dick all. Same story in Florida. These are two of the top teams in the league. And we saw before the break, how you matched up against Colorado, and who else did we play that absolutely dominated us?
The Leafs.
The Leafs, yeah. These are top 5 teams, top 10 teams. Colorado's in the top 10, I would say. Leafs probably top 5. Florida and Tampa Bay currently top 5 teams in the league. Carolina's top 10. And it's one-sided. It's one-sided hockey. The bright spot, I guess, is you're still in those games. You're still making them semi-close with reducing the amount of goals against, and the goaltending is really the story behind all that. I don't know, man. Like that Carolina game, I think it kind of is in a nutshell the entire week. You're outchanced,
They got
you're outshot.
absolutely dominated. At one point, it was like 12-0 the shots. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, they didn't get their first shot till very late in the first period. I thought their second period was much better. They had 4 or 5, good solid high danger chances. So it could have been 1-0, 2-1 if you could fucking score. We should probably spend a bit of time today on the systems as a whole that Huska has these guys playing. It seems to be kind of a talking point that's creeping up in the fan base. I just tweeted that Michael Backlund hasn't scored since, what was it, January
23rd?
January 23rd. Because, you see it on online. Fans start to target it on certain players. Sharangovich finally is a healthy scratch. You guys have done fuck all for 20 games now?
20
just
games.
Invisible. Just floating around. No drive. No killer instinct. No fight. No battle. And I know it pisses fans off when players sign a big contract and then just fucking dip.
A contract that hasn't even kicked in, by the way, so that's nice too.
I don't know about Sharangovich. I'm not going to write him off entirely, but man, this guy needs something. Maybe it's coaching. But the way that he approaches the game right now, I don't even think maybe he belongs in the league if he's gonna if this is what we're gonna get for the next, is it 5-year extension?
Yeah, so 5 years after this.
If this is what we're gonna get for the next 5 years, like, how do you even stay in the league? How do you not get bought out?
Well, does he even have? He didn't have a shot yesterday. I think he had one against Washington.
Well, he was a healthy scratch yesterday.
Against Florida, he had no shots. Yeah, he's just floating out there. And I think that's a good point. What does he need? Because we saw this a little bit last year where he looked like fucking ass, right? At the beginning of the season, and Huska didn't know what to do with him. He's playing on the fourth line. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Nobody knows where to put him. And Conroy had to come down and say, like, listen, can you play this guy on the power play? Can you give him some top 6 minutes, please? And then he, had a nice little run there where he was scoring all the time. But somebody's got to figure this out, because this is going to turn into freaking, obviously it's a far different situation, but this is looking like a James Neal type signing at this point. So they got to figure this shit out.
I think that's a good time to talk about the coaching. Like this, I would say this past week And I know you and I have talked about Huska before, where it's just like let's hold our horses. People were pretty high on Huska all season long, and you and I have always been pretty skeptical when it comes to systems and X's and O's side of the game, lineup decisions. I think he's been making the right lineup decisions finally, except for Rudy's still in there. I still don't understand why you don't have Kearns in the lineup. You need goals. You got to score goals. A guy can score goals. He had what, 3 points in 4 games
Yeah,
before he
wasn't
was
it
sent
four?
back
It was
down.
4 and 5, I think. Even
I don't understand that decision one bit. Like because it's like it's Rooney. So I mean, it'd be one thing if you had another young guy in there that was doing pretty well, but it's just like all you're doing is taking out Rooney to bring Cairns in the lineup.
well,
It's
even take
just
out
like
Lomberg once in a while, right? Like it's not a huge. We're acting like these guys are immovable objects, right? When you can't score a fucking goal, you're sitting there unable to generate anything, and you've got some guys with some upside that we've seen in the league produce. Could you like help? That seems like a pretty easy adjustment to make. No,
I think so. So I bring up the Backlund comment because I would say 80% of the responses on there is just like, well, it's the coaching systems. Nobody's scoring goals. And at what point, I mean, if you're looking at this and you're like, okay, well, again, this past week shows you exactly what you have. You get outchanced, you get out high danger chance, you get outshot, you get outshot attempted, you get out Corsied against the top teams in the league. Are you telling me you win a series against
oh
Florida?
dude,
Are you telling me you win a series against Tampa? Are you telling me you win a series against Carolina? Any team of that echelon? I mean, like, you never know. You honestly, you never know because we've seen it so many times in this league, in this sport. That's part of the reason why hockey is so great. When you get to playoffs, you just never know. One thing that we would expect is you would have great goaltending. Sometimes that's enough to steal you one or two games in your series. But if you can't fucking score any goals, like I mean, I don't know. I mean, we kind of saw it against Dallas when we got injured. Like they beat us 1-0 in what, 2 games? I know for sure one game. So I just don't know, man. It's just we're in such a weird spot as fans because as of today, March 3rd, you're in the what? You're in a wild card spot. You're in the
you're in the
playoff
last
spot.
wild card spot. Yeah,
Vancouver is faltering, but check out the rearview mirror. Here comes St. Louis. Here comes Utah. I don't know, man. Vancouver is such a fucking
dude,
hot mess right
Vancouver's an
now.
absolute tire fire. I wouldn't even put any. You look at all their underlying numbers, terrible. It's like who's scoring less than the Flames? Well, it's like Vancouver. It's terrible. I'm not even concerned about Vancouver. I think you're looking at St. Louis and Utah at this point.
We talked about this road trip, and it's a gauntlet, but the entire rest of the fucking season, man,
Yeah.
is you have a lot. The strength of competition is not looking favorable for the Flames. It's like I would not be shocked. I mean, I was texting you before the Carolina game. I'm like, I don't know. It's going to be probably St. Louis that gets in when it's all said and done. I haven't looked at the strength of schedule for them or Utah, but at this point, it's just like Gould tweeted this: an absolute gauntlet coming up for Calgary this month. You got obviously Philly and Dallas to end this road trip. You got Montreal, Vancouver, couple weaker opponents. I mean, 3 out of the next 4 opponents, and you got Philadelphia, Montreal, Vancouver. These are all must wins. Like if you lose any one of those games, because you got Colorado, Toronto, the Rangers, the Devils, the Islanders. You got Seattle, but then you got Dallas, Edmonton, Colorado.
Yeah.
This team's recipe for success is hold on for dear life. Hold on for dear life for as long as you possibly can. Try and minimize as much damage as you possibly can. Rely on outstanding goaltending. And then if try and muster up 2 or 3 goals a game and then hope that that's good enough to get you a win. That's kind of like the MO. And I don't know, man, when you're stacking up against elite competition like you are in the following next 10, 12 games, It would not surprise me one bit if we get leapfrogged by St. Louis and or Utah in the coming games. We're only 2 points out of bottom 10 currently. 2. You're in a wild card position, but you're only 2 points out of bottom 10. So that kind of mid that we've been talking about all season long, there's a lot of mid competition. The gap has shortened, and look at this the strength of schedule coming up, man. At the end of this month, I don't know. We've been saying it's a pivotal 2 weeks where we're at currently, but so is the month of January. It's pivotal now because you're coming up to the trade deadline, but I don't know. All right, this episode is brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Flames Nation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with Bet365.
Yeah, it's weird because, well, I've kind of been expecting this to happen all season. I know we've been kind of talking about this like every week. It's like, hey, are like when is the drop off going to happen? Because when you're playing this way, when the margins are so thin, right? You're relying so heavily on like, hey, we can maybe score 3 tonight, and maybe Wolf and hey, Vladar played great in 2 games. Maybe goaltending, if they can allow 1 or 2, we can squeak this one out. And hey, to their credit, like that's what's maybe even epitomizes the road trip or the entire season on this road trip even more is like, even though I think fan confidence and fan frustration was at an all-time high for the season after that Carolina game,
those were hard to watch.
yeah, you're just like, holy fuck, like we suck. Like
when
we're
you
terrible.
have the Tampa game where you muster absolutely nothing, followed by the
Florida
Panthers
game where you got absolutely shit canned, and then followed up by the Hurricanes game where the first period you get absolutely dominated. You get dominated all night, pretty much. And you somehow, I mean, that's the thing is like, you have to give them at least some credit for hanging in there too, right? And that's what's so funny is like, you come out of this and you're still in a playoff spot. Not that it's like, wow, they did well, but they somehow managed to get 3 points, which is way more than they deserved based on how they play. Dustin Wolf and Dan Vladar get you 3 points this week alone by themselves.
We said coming into the stretch, if you can even stay 500, you probably keep yourself afloat. But then, I mean, we just brought it up. Like, look at the rest of the month.
Yeah.
I don't know how you stay above 500 against the upcoming teams. Like, there's some really good teams coming up too.
So it's just kind of this netherworld where it's like, yeah, we're obviously going to get absolutely shit canned in the playoffs because, like, look at the teams we're playing right now. Those are playoff caliber teams. Those are the type of teams we'd be playing in a first round playoff series. We'd be playing what? We'd play Winnipeg. We'd be playing the Winnipeg Jets. Like, they'd probably steamroll us. This would be like what happened to Washington last year, where Washington makes the playoffs and it's a total waste of 8 days. They got swept, and it was just like, yeah, well, obviously they stink. It's just weird because you're in this weird spot. You're in this weird, horrible spot right now where it's like we're 2 points out of bottom 10.
That's the closest in the playoffs. That's the closest we've been to bottom 10.
Yeah,
maybe all season. Because usually we've been looking at it's like, oh, you're only 5 points out. You're only 6 points. We're only 2 fucking points back now.
We're like right there. And I think that's where most of the frustration, I think, ultimately comes from is like, hey, like, you would probably get absolutely shit canned in a playoff spot. You're right. You're so close to being where you should be to pick in the top 10 and get the kind of players you need to start bringing in this organization and to retain your pick too. It's just kind of like if they would just like pick a fucking lane right now and either sell off and although maybe if you sell some of these guys who are playing terrible, you wouldn't like Anderson's been bad. But if you just picked a direction and went either, like, that's, I think, what is just the most painstaking thing. And I know if you're management, like, it's easier said than done, right? Like, oh, why don't they just get rid of everybody and suck for the rest of the season? Easier said than done. But ultimately, that's where the frustration comes from is like, you're so close, but so far on either end. You're so close to tanking, but you're also so far. You're so close to the playoff. It's just kind of like, the arc of history is long, but it bends towards the Flames being right in the fucking middle all the time. Never good enough to make the playoffs, never bad enough to bottom out. And it just drives you nuts when you're watching these games and you're just like peak frustration and you just want to fucking throw a chair through the window. So,
I don't mind it. I feel I like the way I look at it. It's just like am fine with the current pain because I think it will out. I think it will out. If you're looking at the rest of
Yeah.
the schedule, I do believe we will finish bottom 10. I'm not concerned about that pick. I mean, St. Louis is a better team. I think Utah is even a better team. I mean, we have better goaltending. That's been our it factor all season long. It's the only reason why we currently are. But if you're looking at the rest of the season, because how many games we got left?
60s, we got 22 games left.
22 games left. I mean, we're getting to that point. I think it's like the 18 game, maybe it's 20 games remaining,
Yeah.
where when you're watching the nightly highlights, now they show the standings every single night.
Yeah.
The last final pushes on. But unless this team finds a way to start scoring goals,
Which,
and that's individual play, but I think where the fan base is at currently is that's a systems thing. The way that Huska has these guys playing right now just does not breed offense whatsoever. Um, and then it's hard too because so much of this game is momentum, right? Even for traditionally pure goal scorers. Some of them go on droughts, some of
yeah.
them go on cold streaks. Just the nature of the game. I think it was, yeah, it was Bieksa talking about Pedersen on the broadcast over Hockey Night in Canada, where he's just Ron McLean's just like, well, what is it? Like, why does this guy suck? I mean, you look at his numbers, dude. He's like having a Huberto season. But Bieksa's
I like
just
how
like,
Huberto's like the standard now for like anybody who sucks is like he's having a. It's like the ubiquitous like he's like Huberto now.
huh. So what Bieksa's just talking, it's confidence. It's a confidence thing. And
Yeah.
once if he's talking about Pedersen as an example, it's just like, look at some of these clips. He's not shooting right there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't he shoot it? You're in a prime spot. And Bieksa says, well, when it's not going your way, you just don't feel like you don't feel like you're gonna score. So you don't like take the shot. Versus on the flip side, when you're hot, everything's going in, you're just shooting every time because you're like, fuck, I'm probably gonna score every time.
Yeah.
And I think that is a really good example of, if you're looking at this Flames team that has really, really struggled scoring goals, and coming into the season, this wasn't what people anticipated. We thought we wouldn't have as much trouble scoring goals. It would be the defensive side of the game would be allowing too much. But you know, everybody was making this point under Daryl, and I think incorrectly, because if you looked at all of the systems and the metrics and the team numbers under Daryl, we were generating a lot of offense. We just weren't capitalizing and finishing. You were still had what super you were top 10 in shots generated. I
Expected
think
goals, high danger chances. And I think, you know what, even that year, like ultimately they did end up scoring quite a few. I think they were top 10 in goals for per 60 at 5-on-5 that year. I mean,
yeah, 5 on 5, yep.
You had a guy like Toffoli scoring a lot of goals that year, so that definitely helped. And a guy who can actually finish. So you don't have guys like that anymore. But like you're saying, for all the fucking consternation and whining about how bad that team was and how Sutter was limiting what they can do offensively, they were actually a pretty good offensive team that year.
Yeah. And I bring that up because it's like we just lived through it. And a lot of the fan base, like I said, I think incorrectly was saying, no, it's Sutter's fault.
Yeah.
Huberto sucks because of Sutter. We can't score because of Sutter. It's his systems. And really, if you look under the hood, that just the facts tell you otherwise.
The truth.
Whereas I think now the opposite's true, where it's just like, yeah, we're bottom 10 in all those categories now. And the system that Huska has his team playing, it's not even sound defensively. Like if you were to look under the hood at all our team stats and metrics, how would you break it down? This team
Well,
is not really
I've been
great
kind of doing
defensively.
this, yeah, mid to not great defensively at best. I've kind of been doing this on a weekly basis all year, and mostly just to flesh out the point of like how unbelievable Wolf has been and how he should be like he's been the MVP of this team by far because you're so poor in pretty much every single 5-on-5 category this year, offensively and defensively, and then you're just excellent. Your goaltending has been excellent. So That's how I've been presenting it. But, also people are picking up on like this. Well, you see in the media sometimes where, it's like, wow, the Flames are in a playoff spot despite being the lowest scoring team in the league. They're the lowest scoring team in the league now today, officially, by
Yep.
goals for per 60 minutes. Total goals at 5-on-5, the worst in the league too. So we're the worst, we're the lowest scoring team in the league. We don't generate a lot of quality offensive chances. So it's not just a finishing thing. It's not just they're shooting everything and it's quantity over quality. It's not that either.
Exactly.
We're not very good at defense. I know Evolving Hockey's model is a little harder on them overall, but in terms of expected goals against, I haven't looked at it in a couple of days, but at 5-on-5, they're meh. It's like, they're like right in the middle, 13th. Like, that's okay, I guess. But when you can't score, it's not great. So it's like mid defensively, terrible offensively, really good goaltending.
And like I said, like that Carolina game is a nutshell of the entire season.
Yeah.
It's like apply the magnifying glass, blow that up. That's been our season. We get outshot, we get outchanced, we get outcourse, we get dominated essentially. But
still
we get
find a way to get a point
because of the goal. Point out of that game.
Yeah.
And once you go to overtime, it's really fucking could go either way. So, I mean,
I don't even think the Flames touched the puck in overtime.
Because of goaltending, you get a point. Because of goaltending, you stay afloat. Because of goaltending, you're currently in a wild card spot. And I think, honestly, it's the number. Yeah,
like second. They're still second overall. 5-on-5 save percentage. Only the Winnipeg Jets have been better.
It's the best team in the league.
With the best goalie in the entire world, probably. I think most people would agree. So
second best goaltending.
Yeah,
Dustin Wolf's the best.
Second best American goaltender.
Dustin Wolf is the best goaltender.
Hey, all I'll say, if Wolf was in net in overtime against Team Canada, I don't think McDavid's. I think he's stopping that McDavid shot.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.